Hey, you have probably heard the term identity politics, but let's talk about exactly what that means and how it could affect you. Identity politics is basically the notion that a candidate's credibility has more to do with various attributes or identifiable descriptions than the person's actual qualifications, experience, personal ethics, or even policy positions. Now, in the new world order of the increasingly far left, what you have successfully done, what you have done, your life and how well you've done it, or what you propose to do, that's of far less importance than is your gender, race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or your level of disability. In other words, it is the opposite of an America as designed, where all of us were created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You've heard that before. It's also the opposite of the kind of nation that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. dreamed of when he longed for the day in which his children would be judged by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. Now listen to many of the candidates for president from the left, and they focus on being a woman, a gay, being either non-religious or maybe non-traditional in whatever their faith is, or being black or Hispanic, rather than in expressing qualification in terms of what they would bring to the office, or how they have achieved their life goals so far, and what specifically they plan to do to create a more perfect union. Some express a greater desire to make sure that law-abiding citizens are prohibited from owning firearms than stopping law breakers from entering the country illegally. Oh, and the latest, proposing that we go well beyond allowing people to earn back their rights following the successful rehabilitation from prison, to now demanding that those currently serving in prison for crimes, even of things like murder, rape, or child molestation, should have the right to vote in prison. Let that sink in a minute. I mean, do we really think the Boston Marathon bomber ought to be voting? Well, Bernie Sanders and some of his colleagues running for president think so. Now, I am certainly open to the notion that when a person adjudicated of a nonviolent crime has completed his or her sentence, and that person demonstrates a life of reform, we should consider restoring certain rights of citizenship that were lost during the criminal sentence. But the idea that someone still incarcerated for murder, armed robbery, selling drugs, or rape ought to be able to vote while in prison, frankly, that seems ludicrous. I mean, if we restore voting rights, what other rights do we have to restore while they're in prison? Free speech, so the inmate can make speeches in the prison yard, advocating overthrow of the guards? Or do we restore Second Amendment gun rights and allow current inmates to be armed? Of course, that's absurd and extreme, but any notion of people voting from their prison cell is absurd and extreme. Look, we're one of the few places on earth where we get to choose our leaders by voting. Hopefully, we choose our leaders prayerfully and carefully, not because we're the same color, the same gender, the same religion, the same ethnicity, or the same hair color, but because we share common biblical values, have the same hopes for coming generations, and desire similar improvements in our society. You've probably figured out, I don't like identity politics. I think it cheapens our freedom, and then it makes us slaves to external characteristics rather than to our internal character. Voting for someone just because she's a woman is sexist as much as voting for someone just because he's a man. You see, I want a government that actually works for the diverse people rather than one that's only about having diverse people hold the offices. I frankly don't care so much if a candidate is male or female, white or black, Christian or Jew, or even straight or gay. I care that they tell me what qualifies them for office, what they've done to give me confidence that they can lead, and maybe bring some proposals that really will make us a better nation. I think that makes more sense.